I've had bikini competitors come to me and say, and that they work with other coaches. And I said, well, what did they have you taking? And they told me a cycle that included testosterone that I was so horrified by, that why anyone would want to give a bikini competitor who is judged on her beauty of her face as well as her physique compounds that will ruin her and masculinize her. I have no idea. I created Species Nutrition with one mission in mind: to provide bodybuilders and serious athletes with no-nonsense supplements that work. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution. Welcome back to another episode of Guru Talk. Today is going to be a very special episode because I have my good friend Humberto Ponce here, and we are going to be talking about bikini, the secrets to bikini. Because you know what? The bikini division is probably one of the largest divisions in all of bodybuilding, and they probably have the most participants. And you know what? People think that there's some kind of magic potions or formulas that the bikini competitors need to follow. And Humberto and I are going to talk about bikini, diet, supplementation, training, and how to make the best bikini athlete on stage. So welcome to the show, Humberto.
Thanks for having me, Dave. Appreciate the opportunity.
Humberto's my prodigy. Him and I work together, and he's like my apprentice. I'm like the emperor, and he's like Darth Vader. He's my apprentice.
Pretty much.
Now, it's funny because you always bring these topics up to me, and I'm always amazed, at the amount of bikini competitors we see in all these shows. And it really is probably the majority of people who compete in all of the NPC and IFBB are probably women nowadays, and probably most of the women are coming from the bikini division because it seems like a nice entrance into the industry. In other words, if you've never worked out and maybe you've had 2 kids and you just say, you know what, I really want to get into shape, but to get into shape, I want to be motivated maybe to do a competition. It seems like bikini, right, Humberto? It seems to be the place a lot of these women find themselves inserting themselves into the equation.
Absolutely. It's a desired body type because, as the name suggests, it's a bikini body. And I mean, what kind of girl or woman doesn't want to have a bikini body?
Yeah, I mean, if you're out of shape or you're someone who never really worked out that much, that seems like a more attainable look, I think, for the average person. I mean, you work with a lot of women who were, let's face it, disasters when you first met them, and you completely transformed them through training, proper diet, nutrition, and it didn't happen overnight. And and some of the transformations, and we showcased them last year on this show, were spectacular. And I really think that it's a good way to get women into the industry. And some women might go beyond bikini; they might go to figure, or they might go to women's physique after that. But it seems like bikini is really the place that women start at.
Yeah, bikini, it's the first door that they open. Usually what I do is I tell them first, okay, we're going to get you in shape. You start little by little. And then what you want to give them a goal. So, for example, it's like, okay, I want to lose 60 pounds. I'm like, you probably need more than that. But I tell them, okay, we're going to start with 60 pounds. Once you reach that mountain, then you tell them, now that you're here, would you like to take it further? Like, why not? Look how far you have come. Sure. And then you take them a little further. And then, hey, why not do a show? Why not? It's a nice experience. Once in your life, you have pictures to show, and you can show how far you really pushed it. And some of the women actually have the body and the will and the desire to compete. And I think it's a wonderful experience. It makes you mentally strong, physically strong. You know more about yourself, about how your mind works, how you have to overcome obstacles. You learn about diet, what foods work for you, what kind of foods do not work for you. And then little by little, you realize that actually getting prepared for a bikini show is teaching you more about yourself than you could possibly know. That's the part that I love the most.
And the transformation is something that is incredible to show that before picture and that after picture. I have a lot of clients, a lot of times they're like, I don't think I'm making progress. I'm like, go back to the original picture you sent me when we first started and put the pictures next to each other. And when they do that, they're like blown away because because you see yourself in the mirror every day. You was just assume that, sometimes you don't even notice that you're changing that much. I remember when I first started and I went from like a 140-pound runner and I gained like 45 pounds. I went up to 185 and I looked in the mirror. I still look skinny. And then when I went back and someone took a picture of me and I compared like my running pictures with that, I was flabbergasted by the difference. But to me in the mirror, I didn't see that much of a difference. Now I wanted to make one statement, and I've said this before, and I stand by it. Really, I do. I think everyone who competes in every division work really hard, but I've worked with I work with a lot of different people, from bodybuilders to classic to figure to bikini wellness. I mean, I have a pretty nice spread of different divisions that I work with. And I'll tell you this, the open bodybuilders and the bikini competitors seem to work the hardest. I don't know why. And I'm not saying from a standpoint of sticking to the, I'm talking about they're really, really mentally into it, like they're like militant, and it's a weird dynamic because I understand the men bodybuilders because they have to really take their bodies to an extreme and but the bikini, I'm shocked at how diligent they are and how every little detail that they want to cover, and I don't know if that's because a lot of the women who go into it kind of came from another place, like where they were maybe not in shape or they had kids and they but do you notice that the bikini competitors are really like hardcore?
Yeah, I agree with you.
Even with the training.
It's extremely competitive. And there's something that you told me that got stuck in my head. You told me once bikini is bodybuilding, because I was training my girls really hard and I still get a lot of criticism. But you told me, Humberto, bikini is bodybuilding. They need to build muscle to look like a bikini competitor. It's not just granted. You just don't diet, exercise mediocrely, and then you achieve that body. It's not true. And I mean, you can see it if you follow my Instagram, High Intensity Babes, how hard I train my girls, whether they're competitors or a 67-year-old mom. They're really training hard because building muscle, it's hard. It's not easy. It's hard work. It's repetitive work. And the bikini category, like you mentioned, is extremely competitive. And the girls really go 100%. I'm honestly surprised that I never thought it was going to be that competitive.
I mean, I like to just use Erin Stern as an example. Erin Stern won the figure Olympia. I forget how many times, 2 times or something like that. And, she won the Arnold's. I mean, she was a really good figure competitor. And then later in her career, just recently, she decided she wanted to do bikini. And she's a little older now. And if you look at her training now, it's not a real good representation of what most bikini women should do, because she had a lot of muscle and had to almost downsize a little bit for bikini. And sometimes we see that with women where they're in the bikini division and maybe they're a little too muscular and they have to like watch their training. Those are not the people you want to watch and emulate, because that's not the majority of the people. Most people who are getting into this bikini division are people who just don't have enough muscle. And you know what? You might have body fat and I can diet and you can diet these girls down and get the fat off. But if you don't have a base of muscle underneath there, shape, in other words, structure, it's not going to look really good. What's going to happen is you're going to lose all this weight. You're going to say, wow, what a great transformation this is. And then you're going to go do a bikini show and judges are not going to, put you in a good placing because maybe you don't have enough glute muscle. You might have thought you did when you were, 30 pounds heavier, but it was really just body fat. You don't have a little bit of cap delts. You don't maybe necessarily have a little sweep to your thigh, and so the only way you can get that is you got to train. So, you've experienced this because I know, because you'll tell me a lot of these girls, sometimes they'll start working out with you. You're adding muscle to them, but they still haven't lost the body fat yet. And they feel like, oh my God, I'm getting too big, or, I don't fit into my clothes. But the truth is, what's happening is they're putting muscle on, but they haven't lost the body fat yet. And, everything in bodybuilding is done cyclically. So you can't really diet fat off and put muscle on at the same time. You have to kind of pick one and then do the other, and pick one and then do the other. And so what advice do you give the women that you work with to try to understand, so they understand that, hey, there's a process here,
Well, I think you really nailed it with that statement. This is so true, and it's not talked about enough. There is a price that is going to come with whatever you want to do in life. This is just universal. You want to build muscle, you're going to have to eat a little bit more, and you're going to have to put some body fat. And that's the price that you're willing to pay. And it's a sport based on an illusion. So as you put some body fat and you grow muscle, you might look like a NFL linebacker. Like my girls were looking, oh my God, I look like a football player.
Yeah.
I'm like, relax. Once you diet down, all that fat is going to go away. Some muscle is also going to go away, but you're going to have a beautiful physique. Like Dorian Yates said, it's you're sculpting a sculpture, but it's covered. And this cover is actually body fat. But once you're ready for the show, you take away this cover, and then the beautiful sculpture is revealed. And something that you also mentioned is that it's not easy for everyone to build muscle that fast. Those girls that have to actually step down the training because they build muscle too fast and too much, those are the exception to the rule. Those are the 1%, the genetically blessed. Most of you girls are not like that. You're going to have to work extra hard to lift extra heavy, to go further down to failure, beyond failure, to eat more, to diet more, in order to be able to compete with those genetically blessed. I know it's not fair, but that's just life. Right, Dave?
Absolutely. And it takes us to another topic I'm going to segue to in a minute. But I want to just say that never, if you're a woman watching this, don't look at the Bikini Olympia champions or the top 5 at the Bikini Olympia and say, well, I watch them on Instagram and they are in great shape all the time. Even when they're a little off, they're really not that off. Well, you know what? They've already built the physique to be on the Olympia stage. So they've gone past that awkward stage already, and they don't really need to get much bigger. They're just making small refinements at this point in their physique. So their body fat and their body weight is really not changing that much from off-season to pre-contest if they're smart, because there's no reason for it to. When you're first getting into it and building, you're going to have some awkward stages. I remember the first real, muscle building thing I did. I was so bloated, and uncomfortable because I wasn't used to that. And, but once I hit a physique where I filled out my frame, I didn't have to get that. I didn't have to go that much over my contest weight anymore. But you can't look at the people who've achieved what they want already and then say, well, I want to be like her. Well, you know what? You don't have that much muscle. You got to build the muscle first. Now, having said that, I think that you kind of led us into this next area. A lot of women, think that the quicker they can do it, the better. And the shortcuts that they take are taking drugs. Okay. Now we all know that in the sport, there's performance enhancing drugs. And the question is, what is appropriate for a bikini competitor to take and what's not? I don't know about you, but I know that I've had bikini competitors come to me and say, and that they work with other coaches. And I said, well, what did they have you taking? And they told me a cycle that included testosterone that I was so horrified by, that why anyone would want to give a bikini competitor who is judged on her beauty of her face as well as her physique compounds that will ruin her and masculinize her. I have no idea, but it's out there. It's rampant. Wouldn't you say?
No, I agree. that's the problem when people don't reach out someone that has experience like you. When I started, I'm like, there's no way on earth that I'm following this path based on what I see online or what
Yeah.
someone told me at the gym. I'm gonna go for someone who is a legend, someone who has decades of experience. You are a biologist, you know about medical um, literature, you have experimented on yourself.
Yeah.
I think your ex-wife was a competitor, right?
Yeah. Yeah. A
Okay,
couple of them.
couple, so you have a resume.
No, well, my wife now was a professional. She won the USA Championships in '05.
There
But
you go.
in bodybuilding, but you know what? This is the thing. I tell people, and I told you this when we first started working. You have to treat these women as if they're your wife. Would you want your wife to take this compound and potentially have the side effects that are associated with it? And if the answer to that is no, because she's your wife, then the answer should be no for the person you're working with. That you shouldn't say, you know what, I just want to have success with my girls as fast as possible. So people say, look at this magician, look at what he did to this girl. Look at her physique, how great it is. Meanwhile, the girl's, shaving her face every morning when she wakes up, and you don't want that. You see, and once again, bikini is about beauty. So if you can create a beautiful physique without any negative side effects of potentially of the performance enhancing drugs that go along with the sport, then you as a coach have achieved what you're supposed to achieve. Okay. Anyone could tell a girl to take a lot of drugs and she's going to probably put a lot of muscle on pretty quickly, but at what cost? And I think that's an important line that you shouldn't cross, especially with, I think with all women, but especially with bikini, the bikini division, because of the beauty aspect of it. Those girls on the Olympia stage are beautiful. I mean, you can see it. They don't look like men. They don't sound like men, because that's what's being rewarded, beauty, in addition to a small waist and a good taper and a great stage presentation. It's the whole package.
Especially in bikini. No, I agree with you, Dave. And the problem is people, they want to experiment on their athletes like they're lab rats. I mean, there's compounds that have been created in the 50s, and they were created for women. So there's tons of studies from the 50s to this day that are the safer option. And you're a big advocate to work with what's been tested, proven, and what works clinically. And always start at a low dosage instead of trying some weird compound that nobody has researched, or maybe there's one test was taken off the market, it's cheap, you buy it online, you don't know what the hell that is. So it's better not to take that route.
First of all, anabolic steroids, we know, build muscle. They don't burn fat. Okay, so if women are taking them thinking they're going to get in shape for a show, I mean, it's ridiculous. Okay, they don't burn fat. They do metabolically lift your metabolism a little bit, because if the body is building muscle at a more accelerated rate, the body needs energy to do that. But they're not direct fat burning compounds. There's only really one compound that's 100% safe, and assuming it's real, and that's Anavar. Anavar is relatively side effect free if you get real Anavar in the 10 to 20 milligram per day dosage. You can even probably go with women. Most women can even go up to 30 milligrams a day and probably have no side effects. And as far as I'm concerned, for 90% of the women out there, that's probably enough to build the muscle that they need for bikini. Okay. The rest of the equation is fat burning. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that in a minute, what the right pharmaceuticals are to do that. Fat burning ingredients don't have masculinizing side effects, so that's not a problem. So for women, 80% of the problem is not that they don't have enough muscle, they can't burn fat, right? So the fat burning equation is easy because that doesn't cause masculinizing side effects. So when you have to evaluate, all right, what am I going to use anabolically speaking? Well, you can use Anavar, and you could actually use a little bit of growth hormone, because growth hormone is not a masculinizing, it's not a steroidal compound, it's a protein hormone that helps build muscle and recovery, and it actually has a fat burning effect as well. So those two compounds are really safe, assuming you have real Anavar and real GH. Now, some bikini figure competitors will go one step a little further, and they'll use a little bit of Winstrol. And it seems like Winstrol's side effects are really dose related. So if these bikini competitors stick to 10 milligram, Winstrol or below per day in an oral, dosage, they don't tend to get any side effects from that. The reason why oral compounds seem to work better with women and cause less side effects is because they're not in your system 24 hours a day. If you take an injection of like an oil-based, drug, it's going to be in your system 24 hours. It's exposing you to that compound all the time. And I think more women get side effects with injectables because of that. Whereas with the pills, they kind of have like a peak and then they kind of like decline over the course of, so by the time the morning comes around for your next dose, you don't really have high levels in your system anymore, which is good because you're getting enough to build muscle, but you're not getting enough to be exposed to side effects. So, I mean, if you're a trainer worth your weight in gold, and you really care about your athletes, there's no reason why a bikini or even figure competitor for that matter should be taking anything more than Anavar and Winstrol and a little growth hormone as far as anabolic or muscle building compounds go.
I think that's the holy grail. Growth hormone works better with an anabolic like Anavar. They have a synergistic effect.
Absolutely.
The dose depends, on the person. There's girls that are more sensitive. There are girls that can take more, and that's fine. But those compounds have been researched for decades, studied, proven.
Yeah.
Just try them. If you're gonna go that route, try those compounds, but don't go and try experimenting with stuff that you have no idea what you're putting in your body. And something else that I like to say is those compounds, the PEDs, are just the cherry on top. You cannot build your physique on that. You build your physique naturally. First, you push your body until its maximum genetic capacity. And then that is going to reward your hard work, but you still need to train hard. You still need to take days off to recover. You still need to eat healthy. That's the bigger part of the equation.
Yeah.
So
we're talking about the sexy part of the equation because people love to talk about drugs, And I worry, to be honest with you, I worry a lot about the women all the time when I hear some of the stuff that some of these trainers do with them. And that's why I really stress this. Growth hormone can cause a lot of fluid retention. So women probably shouldn't take more than 1 to 1.5 IUs of GH per day. And, one of the most important things is because we live in a world where most of the drugs are made in underground labs, you really have to test your compounds. On my DavePalumbo.com website, I sell these kits called Roy test kits. You can test your Anavar, you can test clenbuterol, you can test anything you're taking. You can test to see if it's real. Even the growth hormone, it's a dipstick test. You can test to see if it's real. It's very important, especially if you're a woman, because if you think you're taking Anavar and you're actually taking Dianabol because some unscrupulous, guy who made the compounds decided that Dianabol was infinitely cheaper to put into the drug, into the mix rather than Anavar, you're probably going to get a lot of bad side effects, taking Dianabol. So it behooves you to probably buy one of the Roy tests and test anything that you put into your body. Likewise, just on another note, as far as fat burning agents go, a lot of like women and men use clenbuterol for fat burning. They use a little T3 or Cytomel. It's a thyroid hormone for some fat burning. A lot of women will use anti-estrogens like Nolvadex. Aromatase inhibitors don't work on women because they don't aromatize. Most women need to block estrogen receptors. They use Nolvadex, 10 milligrams twice a day. A lot of them will use it the last 8 to 10 weeks before a show. And that works really well. And we're not doing a whole show on drugs, but those compounds are safe because they don't have androgenic side effects. They don't have masculinizing side effects. So when you're a woman, think about long-term. Hey, I don't want to mess up my beauty. I don't want to mess up my femininity. It's not worth the short-term trophy you're going to get because you will get side effects. They don't happen right away. They're cumulative, but you will get them. Just like a little boy who's 12 years old, and when he hits puberty, doesn't take 6 months to go through puberty. It might take him 4 years. It happens, okay? And then he turns into a man. You don't want that to happen to you. Now, let's go back to the most important part of the equation, which you mentioned earlier, is training and eating. Okay. If you cannot train yourself, if you're one of these people who just can't push themselves in the gym, and you don't have you can't find a training partner that can do it for you, because a lot of times I always found that if I got a good training partner and we went to the gym together, they would push me, I'd push them, and I always got great workouts. But a lot of times, women work, and it's hard to find someone who's going to be at the gym at the same time you are. In that case, if you're just starting out, it's very important that you get a trainer. You don't have to train with them forever, but I recommend getting a trainer. How many sessions, Humberto, would you recommend that someone just getting into the sport who wants to know the proper way to train? How many sessions do you think they need to go through before they can maybe do this on their own?
I think they can start with 3 to 4 sessions a week. The longer you are with a trainer, assuming this trainer is good and know what he's doing and understands the hypertrophy principles, the longer you're with this person, the better, because you get to pick up this person's brain. The longer you are in the gym and on a weekly basis, the longer you're in this environment, so you get to absorb the energy, you get to understand how the machines work, you get to understand your own body physiology, what exercises work for you, which ones don't work for you. So in the beginning, to me, it's like learning how to swim. Don't get one swimming lesson a week. You're not gonna learn anything. Right. The longer you're in the water, you're gonna be able to stay afloat. So I will start with that. And once you learn the system, learn about your body, learn how you train. That's what I tell most of my students. Once you learn everything from me, my system, how it works, you don't have to keep coming with me. I don't make you sign a document. You're staying.
Some people might want to do it because they enjoy it, because you push them. But
yes,
but learn how to actually activate the muscles that you're supposed to be training. Because if you don't, you're wasting your time. You're going to the gym, going through the motions. You're eating right. You're taking whatever supplements you should be taking, and then you're getting no results because you're not really activating the muscles properly. You're not doing full range of motion. You're not using proper form. You got to have a trainer initially to learn how to train. I needed it. When I first started, I got lucky. The guy I started training with, he taught me how to train. I thought I knew how to train because I had been bodybuilding for a couple of years already. I started working out with him, and man, did I learn. I knew nothing. I just wasn't feeling the muscle, and he taught me everything I know. And to this day, I give him credit. Doug Wentz, man, great trainer.
That's true, Dave. It's always good to have a teacher, even when you are a trainer or a coach. Like me, I hire a coach like you to get better.
Right.
You don't stop learning. Some coaches did a show, learned something that worked for them right. in the 80s or the 90s, and say, okay, I'm going to be a trainer. I'm going to train you. They stop learning. They stop educating themselves. And things that are better, they're more optimal. They work better for your students. And something very important is every person is different. So what works for some person doesn't work for another one. Intensity-wise, yes, everybody should train hard with intensity, depending on their capabilities. But some people need more rest days than others. And going back to the topic that you mentioned, I mean, if you are a female, a woman, and you're trying to get into bikini or a competition or just want to get in shape, the worst thing you can do, like Dave said, is go check your Instagram, see what Olympia is doing, and copy that, because Olympia is probably using 3-pound dumbbells. She's all dolled up. She's not even sweating, going something like this. Like it's an android on Xanax. And you're going to copy that thing, thinking that how you're going to grow. No, you don't grow like that. Training in the gym is not cosmetic. It's not pretty. It's pretty ugly, and it's messy, and it hurts, and you're going to scream, and you're going to sweat, and you're going to curse. That is the ugly part of training that you won't see on Instagram that took those girls to where they are right now. So that is very important.
It's funny that you said that, because I tell people, I said, look at some of these guys like Nick Walker, and I'll just use guys that are competing right now, not guys that have passed.
That's a good example.
It's more relevant. Look at Nick Walker. Look at Samson Dowda. Look at the Derek Lunsford. These guys have glutes. You ever see those striated glute muscles? You know why they have glute muscles? Because they squat. Because they lift heavy weights when they do legs. If you're a bikini competitor or wellness or whatever division, even figure, and you want to have a butt, you want to have glute muscles. So when you diet all the fat off your rear end, you actually have shape back there. You got to train, you got to squat, you got to leg press, you got to do the same exercises that the open bodybuilder men do. Because if you don't, when you diet off all the fat, you're going to have a saggy little butt hanging there. And that's not going to do well in competition, especially not in bikini and in wellness. That's for sure.
Yeah, bikini is based on glutes for the most part. So,
but people think that fat and muscle are the same. It's not. When you lose the fat, you're going to have nothing left there if you don't put muscle on. And you know what? You mentioned earlier, you're constantly learning. Life extension. I read this magazine every single month. I can't even believe they still print the magazine. I'm glad they do because I'm too lazy to read it online. And I'm always learning new stuff about new nutritional supplements and stuff like that. And then I take that information and I pass it down to guys like Humberto. I do a video on RX Muscle to educate. So I'm always learning too. You never stop. Once you think you know everything, you're done. You never stop learning. I'm learning every single day, and I'm always bringing new things into my programs that I use on people.
No, I agree, Dave. And if you just look back at your time, the 90s, okay, look how you guys train. Look how the females in your time trained. And look how girls train now. Like there's this stupid trend that I want to look cute for the camera and I'm going to live with this beautiful form. I mean, ladies, you look like a ballerina, but this is not ballet. This is bodybuilding. It's hard work. I'm never going to stop saying this because I'm honestly up to here, seeing it all over social media. And then I also get criticism for that. Oh, but look how this champion or how this girl, I'm like, honey, she is representing right now a company's brand. She's looking cute. That is not real life. That's Instagram.
Or look, and you've sent me video once with one of your girls doing those. That hip thrust machine?
Yeah.
It's a nice machine. It definitely enables you to squeeze your glutes and everything like that. But I see women on there who put so much weight on this machine, and I watch them. They're on there for like an hour. Okay, they must do 50 sets on there, and then because I watch people in the gym because I want to see what people do, and I don't, and that's all. And then they go and do some extensions and some curls, and they'll do some in or out of thighs.
Yes.
Not one time do I see them on a squat bar. Not one time do I see them on a hack squat.
Yes,
people love machines, and I don't know what this. And I think it's because it's easy. Machines are made to be comfortable. So I see open bodybuilders do this too. I'll see them go from back machine to back machine. I don't see them do one bent over row with the barbell. I don't see them do one arm row. I don't see them deadlift because people are lazy and they think the machines are going to do more than the actual free weights because the free weights hurt, right? I mean, it's a compound movement. You got to stabilize the weight. It's not fun to do. It's great to do the machines, but you have to do the free weight movements, whether you're an open men's bodybuilder or you're a men's physique competitor or you're a bikini competitor. You have to do the free weight work. Why? Because free weights cause you to have to stabilize the weight. You get a fuller, more complete development from it. And I think that's a very important. I know you do free weights and you kill your girls, but a lot of people don't do that. They do these fun, fruity looking exercises that they lunge across the bleachers and I see all these crazy shit that people do.
Look,
just do the basics. Do the basics and you'll build the physique you want. I promise you. There's no secret exercises that people haven't been doing for years. Go look at Tanya Knight's physique from the 1980s and early 90s. Yeah. She had a beautiful physique. There were no machines. She did free weights back then.
Look, you know what? I wanted to talk about that topic too. Look, it's not the machine's fault. Dorian trained a lot of machines for the most part and got that
after he put all the muscle on though.
Yeah, and he said like machines like work, but here's the thing: it's the intensity. Like you said, if you're thinking the machine is gonna do everything for you, you're dumb. You have to train hard. You go on a leg press, you're probably more stable. You don't have to worry about balancing the bar and anything, which I think is great. But you gotta train hard. They're doing all these cute reps. Oh, it burns. I'm gonna stop. And then another rep and another rep.
I see people sideways on the leg press and doing these weird
Don't do
kickbacks,
that.
movements. I'm like, oh my God.
Don't do that. Don't. That is dumb. You're getting like your hips in this weird position. Like you know what's the problem, Dave? Again, these influencers, these bimbos, all
The
cute.
influences.
They go and they make up some exercise where your
Yep.
ass looks
Yep.
gigantic. And they're like, oh my God, I'm going to copy this. It doesn't work like that. Like you mentioned, even if you didn't have machines, okay, and you have to go and do a barbell squat, okay? Let's say you have to train freaking hard because that thing is going to snap you in half. So if you don't train with the same intensity with a machine, then why are you at the gym? What are you doing this for? You know, it's these bimbos influencers that grab a machine and make it do something that it's not meant to do.
Right. And you know what? I don't even blame them, Humberto. You know what? You should be, as a competitor or as a person who's interested in becoming a competitor, you should be smart enough to be able to see on social media when someone's doing something for views and to be, you know, kind of like different versus something that's effective. Now, I know that maybe the beginner can't differentiate between the two, unfortunately, but that's why you hire a trainer who's going to tell you what the right thing to do. Someone like you or someone like me. Someone's going to tell you what the right stuff to do is. Let me tell you something. There's no secret exercises. There's no secret diet. There's no secret performance-enhancing drugs or supplements. It's hard work, okay? Doing the same repetitive thing day after day, taking enough rest. You know, I always say controlled insanity. You have to have the control aspect is your coach. The insanity aspect is what you're going to be doing when you go to the gym and all the food you're going to be eating. But if you do the same thing over and over and you repeat it in the right way, you're going to get the results you want. It's not going to happen in 6 weeks. It's not going to happen in 6 months. It's a process that happens over time, years. And the longer you do it, the better you get at it. And the better you get at it, the more it will reinforce in you that, hey, I'm doing the right thing. Don't take shortcuts with drugs you shouldn't be using, okay? Don't think you're going to be doing exercises that are more comfortable because, you know what, so-and-so online, Miss Olympia does it, okay? Do the hard work, okay? Get a coach who's going to be honest with you and tell you what really has to be done, whether you want to hear it or not. And I promise you're going to get great results, whether it be bikini or any other division for that matter. But you know what? A lot of bikini girls are the girls that are just getting into the business and they don't know a lot. So if you don't know a lot, hire someone who does. And that's my best advice.
Yes, and do your research. You know, there is coaches that you see their Instagram page. It's him flexing. Look at my abs. Look at me. Look how cute I am. This narcissistic dude, he's a douche. And you see his clients, no clients. Like, why don't you post your clients? My Instagram is my clients. That's how you hire me. Oh, he did this to this. She brought this girl from here to here. Then great, hire me or hire someone better than me. But don't hire these narcissistic pricks or these cute girls that were genetically blessed with a cute, tiny little waist, nice ass, and haven't transformed a soul. Like, do your research, make sure they know how to grow muscle properly and not making you do these fancy BS exercises with bands and booty jumps and this is just
what you're basically saying is, look, if you were going to pick a college, okay, and you had the option to go to any college, you're going to go to Harvard or you're going to go to the flea market college they got down the road where they teach a little course at night after the flea market closes. All right, you're going to go to Harvard, right? I mean, so once you educate yourself, you might not even need a coach after that if you're a very independent person for whatever reason. But learn the right way to do things from the right people. And you guys can find, who's out there who knows what they're talking about. Who has knowledge, because if you watch videos, you can hear the people who sound intelligent and who are giving you, valid information versus the charlatans, as Humberto was trying to point out. So
and the same
how do people get in touch with you, Berto, if they want to train with you out in California there?
Oh, they can go to my Instagram. It's high_intensity_babes. Or they can go to my website, highintensityBabes.com, and they can contact me. They can Go to you. You're amazing.
Well, yeah,
You're
no, I'm
amazing,
saying, but
Dave.
you actually train. I don't train people in the gym anymore, like exercise wise. If they want to train with you, though, I have a lot of girls that I know work
Oh
out with you.
yes,
Everyone
yes.
loves you. This guy is great in the gym, and he's got a lot of knowledge for diet and supplementation. Him and I work on a lot with a lot of girls concurrently together to make sure that they're in the best shape for competition. And you know what? I think the thing that you and I are probably the most proud of is some of the transformations we made on people who started from ground zero and have gone all the way to winning their class at a show in a single year almost. And
Yes,
that's it's just
and I
incredible.
have to give you praise because I use your patented and effective ketogenic diet, which is an adaptation to the keto diet. Most people get scared. Oh my God, I'm very hungry, headaches. It's not like that. Your diet is the best thing I ever tried. It works on every single student that I have. I tried on my own. I feel better. Yes, you include carbs. It's a special kind of diet. Dave, I would like you to talk about it because a lot of people misinformed tell me, oh my God, you shouldn't do that, you need carbs. I'm like, I understand, but this diet is not 100% keto. It's just different and seems to work for females.
Right.
So I know why it works, but I would like you to explain why this diet works so well for bikini competitors.
First of all, women don't do well on carbs. They just don't metabolize carbohydrates well. And so I'm not talking about when they're trying to grow in an off-season situation. I'm talking about when they're dieting to burn fat. And women don't like to be bloated. Okay. So when you reduce carbs very low in the diet, you don't retain any fluid. Okay. Women also get moody because not only do they, do people get moody when their blood sugars are low because they're eating, lower carbs, even if you are eating some carbs, everyone's got to lower their carbs. But, they have hormonal fluctuations, whether it be different times of the month. When the brain has a stable fuel source, okay, provided to it on a daily basis, okay, 24 hours a day, you don't get mood swings. You don't get grumpy, okay? You don't get hungry, okay? How do you do that? Well, you know what? You got to put women on, and for anyone who's interested, on a ketogenic diet. What does the ketogenic diet mean? It means that the brain is using fat as a fuel source and not carbs. And how do you do that? You have to get rid of all the starchy carbs from your diet. You can still have some carbs in the way of vegetables and stuff like that, but you really have to keep the starchy carbs, which are your rice, potatoes, pastas, and oatmeal and all that stuff. You got to get rid of that from the diet. If you do that and you replace the carbs with good essential fatty acids, avocados, nuts, macadamia nut oil, extra virgin olive oil, even some whole eggs and stuff like that, what the person finds is that their body is getting what it needs, which is protein and essential fats, because that's what builds and repairs muscles. Okay. The brain is getting a fuel source in the way of fat, okay, which it's very happy to use and it never runs out of. Okay. And then insulin levels are really low in the body because insulin is only released when you eat carbohydrates. So you're actually creating a perfect hormonal environment that's conducive to weight loss. You're creating an environment that the brain feels good. It doesn't feel cravings. It doesn't feel sugar swings because the brain is not using sugar as a fuel source. It's using fat. And the main reason why people fail on their diet is that they don't feel good and they wind up cheating and eating food to make themselves feel better. If you don't get these blood sugar fluctuations and these mood swings, you're going to feel good all the time. You're not going to want to cheat. If you're eating 5 times a day, which is, pretty much the standard for women, 5 small meals a day, whether they be shakes or meals that are high in protein, moderate fat, and low carb, that's plenty of food. The problem is that when you're dieting, people get sugar swings. And when the brain is eating, it feels great. When it's not and blood sugar goes low, what happens? You feel moody. You get the hunger pains, okay? You get cravings. And you just feel miserable. And if you're trying to work a real job or maybe take care of kids and get ready for a show, it's just not going to work. And you're going to fail in the process. Putting a woman on a ketogenic type diet, and we're not going to go into all the details of exactly what that entails, is going to give them the most chance for success. And what they're going to find is that it's not going to be that hard. Now, having said that, and you know this, Humberto, the last 4 weeks of any diet, when body fat is really low, it doesn't matter what diet you do. You're going to be hungry. Okay. You're going to want to eat. You're going to want to cheat. You're going to have points in the day where you have low energy. That just comes with the territory of competing. Most people who just want to transform how they look will never have to go to that hurting area because they won't get that lean. They don't need to get that lean. Because for most people, if they have a six-pack of abs, they're happy, okay? But if you want to go to that next level where you want to get on stage and be judged by judges who are looking at every aspect of your body, how much body fat you have, skin looseness, you got to lose all the body fat. That's not fun. Those last 3 to 4 weeks are going to be tough no matter what diet you follow. And that's just the facts. But up until that point, you know, a ketogenic diet for women works amazing. Now, what like Humberto did mention is, you know, when I start women off, a lot of times I start them off some days where they're eating no carbs and then some days where they do eat carbs. So it's not really technically a ketogenic diet. I'm kind of preparing their body for pushing them into a ketogenic diet at some point. But you don't have to necessarily start off with 0 carbs. Same thing with men. All my men that I work with all get carbs initially. They start with days where they're eating carbs, some days where they're eating no carbs. Depending on how their body responds, you know, I might take away the carbs or I might not. Some guys say to me, you know what? I feel so much better on a ketogenic diet. Take my carbs away from me. I don't care. And the good thing is we always give, usually once a week, we give them a cheat meal once a week. And a cheat meal entails eating some carbs at 1 meal a week. So you do have that kind of what I call get out of jail free card always available to you as long as you're strict during the week. So, you know, without going into too much detail, that's pretty much the program. Train hard, eat right, supplement with the right supplements, and we can do a whole show on that probably. And don't overdo the performance enhancing stuff where you're going to jeopardize your femininity. And I think if you follow those basic tenets that we just laid out in this little Guru Talk episode, I think you can be very successful as a bikini competitor or any division for that matter.
And I would like to add, try a keto diet. Don't be scared of it and play with the carbs because we do cheat meals once a week and they include, you know, certain kind of carbs. And in the beginning of the diet, we have protein, fat, protein, veggies, protein, carbs, and then we play with that. And it's true what you said because during the last season of their first show where they were close to the stage, they all decided, you know what, I feel great with just keto, and by their own choice, they start doing just straight keto. They didn't want to eat anything else. They were happy. I was so surprised.
And also, I think a lot of people don't understand because they think when they read up on ketogenic diets online, they read the medical ketogenic diet, which is for the person who doesn't work out. So if you don't work out and you want to go on a ketogenic diet, you know, and you don't really have a high protein requirement because you're not breaking down muscle tissue in the gym because you just do nothing all day. You can't eat a lot of protein because if you overeat protein, some of that protein can convert to carbs, which is what you don't want. So the medical ketogenic diet is a higher fat, moderate protein, low carb diet. When you get involved in exercise or performance in sports, you need to eat my ketogenic diet, but I've been talking about for 30 years, which is high protein, moderate fat, just enough for fuel and essential needs, low carb diet. Way, way, way different.
It's amazing.
In effect.
I love that diet. It's amazing.
Yeah,
amazing.
Medical ketogenic diets are totally different. You know, the diet they give, you know, people get cancer a lot of times. They find that cancer doesn't survive in a ketogenic environment because cancer cells love sugar.
Or people who are insulin resistant, morbidly obese, this diet is a godsend.
Yeah, I agree. And so, you know, especially if you run high blood sugars, a lot of people, you know, run high fasting blood sugars. Ketogenic diet fixes that a lot of times completely because it lowers the carb load, it lowers the insulin requirement by the body, and now the body can control blood sugars better. So there's a lot of benefits to it. And like I said, if you want to contact Humberto or myself, you know, we both work with, you know, all divisions of women and men, you know, and like I said, I actually have a lot of bikini competitors that I work with because they are hardcore and they do want the knowledge, and and they'll do anything I tell them. If I tell them, you're going to go, 5 days in a row, doing 2 hours of cardio a day because you need to, they'll do it. And I love that about them. And that's why I say bikini competitors train really hard, even though maybe they're not given the credit, that you get from some of the other divisions who have more muscle. In my experience, when I work with bikini girls, I find they work very hard and give you 100%. And so
I agree.
Anyway,
I agree,
like I said, we could probably do multiple shows on this, and we will do more on this topic. And I want to just thank you, Humberto, for joining me today for this segment on Guru Talk on bikini competitors. If any bikini girls, once again, have any questions, you could always reach out to either one of us, and we'd be happy to answer any of your questions.
Thank you, Dave. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
All right, guys. And that's going to take us to the end of another episode of Guru Talk. I'm Dave Palumbo with Humberto Ponce. We'll see you next time.